Today I'm going to show you how to make sample 3, which is the construction technique called square corners / 90-degree pivot. This technique is going to be used anytime you're sewing around corners or angles, and it's going to be the exact technique you're going to use on your apron when you make your pockets, so that they'll be nicely shaped and not lopsided. So sample 3 starts out just like sample 2, except instead of sewing down one side, we're going to sew a seam on all 4 sides. So that's one of the differences. And then there's going to be 2 more new techniques you're going to learn, as I'm going to show you in a second. First of all, what you're going to need to do is pick up an construction technique manual and turn to the instructions for sample 3, square corners. And I'm going to refer to that as we start our sample. So looking at the directions, it tells me that I need to prepare 2 squares just as I would for a regular seam, right sides together. So I remember that when I did my regular seam in sample 2, we talked about a good side and a bad side, the good side meaning the right sides. And the hint was that I could pretend like it was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. This is my peanut butter, this is my jelly, the good stuff's in the middle, so that I'll make a sandwich. So I'm going to line my edges up even, just like I did with sample 2. Next, the directions say to pin all 4 sides using pins perpendicular to the edge. Now, I remember that there was a reason for perpendicular, and I think it was because it was easier to take them out when I sew, and they wouldn't stab me in the arm when the feed dog pulls the fabric through the machine. So I'm just going to put one on each side, perpendicular, like that. I think I'll put them about 2 or 3 inches apart. Next in my directions, it says along one edge, mark a small opening with chalk. This will be your no-sew zone opening. Do not put this opening by a corner. Okay, so I have an edge, and I'm seeing that it looks like they're leaving about 2 to 3 inches open on the side. So I'm going to mark that, and I don't want to be by a corner, about 2 to 3 inches with chalk. I wonder why I need to do this. Why would I need to leave a section open? Let me think. Oh, I know, if I sew all the sides shut, I won't be able to flip it right side out when I'm done. Directions say not to leave this opening in a corner. That's right, because I'm wanting to sew all the corners shut. So if I leave the opening, then I'd have a corner not shut. So now we're ready to start with the instructions 4 and 5, which is beginning to sew. So number 4 says line up the edge of the fabric, mark the no-sew zone. So I'm going to line up this side with the 15 line on your machine parts. I know for a regular seam I had to line my edge up with the 15, so I remember how to do that. So I'm going to lay this right at the edge of the 15. Now, I wonder where I should start though. So let me read number 5. Begin sewing at the bottom of the no-sew zone, back stitching when you begin. Okay, so here's my no-sew zone. I'm going to start at the bottom. That will make it easier because then I can sew continuously around rather than start up here and then start and stop and have to skip over my no-sew zone. So that makes sense. So I'm going to line it up with the 15 right at the bottom of my no-sew zone. Now, this is a regular seam, so I got to make sure that I check my stitch control dial, and a regular seam, regular stitching is on dial 2.5, so I'm all ready to go. So I remember from my last sample that it was always important to backstitch or reverse anytime I start and end a seam. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lower my presser foot, put my needle down, and I'm going to sew forward a few stitches. And then backwards a few stitches. And if I go back too far into my no-sew zone, that's okay, just as long as I still have a small opening there. So don't worry about that. So then I'm going to continue sewing, and we're going to learn a new technique at the corners, and that's pivoting 90 degrees. So now I'm ready to show you how to do a 90-degree pivot at the corners. So we're going to refer to instructions number 6 and 7 in your manual. And it says pivot at all corners by leaving your needle down in the fabric, lifting the presser foot, and pivoting a 90-degree turn. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to sew down this edge. And when I start getting close to this edge, I'm going to slow down, and the last few stitches I'm actually going to turn the hand wheel by hand instead of using my foot pedal. Okay? And I'm going to show you a trick so you know exactly where to turn. So I'm coming down the edge, I'm watching the edge so that it stays on the 15. And as I get close, I'll show you the trick. When this toe of the presser foot, the very edge of this presser foot, is even with the edge of this fabric, that's a good indication that it's time to turn. So I'm not quite there yet, so I'm just going to turn my hand wheel, and remember we always turn it towards us. And I'm going to just get that even or flush. So I'm thinking even with the edge here. Now the directions say it's really important to leave the needle down. So I'm going to leave the needle down in the fabric, pick up the presser foot, and pivot toward me. Now one thing that's really very important is that when I pivot back to the next edge, that edge has to be on this 15, and it's not. So I'm going to show you what to do if it's not there. So I'm going to pick my presser foot up and re-pivot back again, put my presser foot down, and go back one stitch because I went too far. And I'm going to try it again. Needle is down in the material with the presser foot and pivot, and I'm right on my mark. That's extremely important, it looks like, because that's the only way I'm going to get nice, even corners. Otherwise, they're going to be lopsided. So, I'm thinking that this is a lot like basketball pivoting, where the person's foot has to stay on the floor, and if they lift it, they're called for traveling. This would be the same thing with this, because if my needle is lifted, the thread is going to travel across the top of the material and not make the stitch. I think I'll try that to see what that would do, just to make sure. So I'm going to try this side. I'm going to sew down this side with the edge on the 15. And this time I'm going to stop. Edge of the presser foot is at the edge of the fabric, but this time I'm going to leave my needle up and see what happens. Put the presser foot up. Oh, that's not good. Because what happens, I see, is that the thread is laying on the top of the fabric and didn't make a stitch. So what happens, let's see, I'm going to go fix that. I'm going to go back again, which is okay, I can do this. And I'm just going to make that corner again. I'm going to stick it back in. Just start right on top of that other thread. And I'm going to sew that again. This time I'm going to leave the needle down like it was supposed to. Okay. So that corner is fixed. So I'm just going to continue on this side, making sure that my edge is always at the 15. if I go too far, oh, I went too far again because it's not at the 15, so I'm going to pivot back again and fix it. Again, do it by hand. Hand wheel always turns towards you, even if you're going backwards. That's very important. And we get back at our mark, needle down, press your foot up, and we make our pivot. So you're going to pivot around each corner like this, making sure as you turn that you're back on the 15. If you're not on the 15, I can't keep going. I have to stop and fix it. Do the last few by hand. Turn the hand wheel toward me. Needle down, press your foot up. And I'm back to my no-sew zone, and I know that when I start a seam and end a seam, I always have to reverse, so I'm going to remember to reverse there. And that is sample 3. Cut my threads. And I have nice 90-degree corners. All done.